So actually, I had pre-recorded some videos that were supposed to be published today, but I noticed that it was Django's birthday around this time, so I thought I'd do a little special tribute to our master, Django Reinhardt, the king, without whom I would have no career in music. So happy birthday, Django. Um, so it's Django themed. I want to talk about certain things that are very dear to me, but first I want to show you this cool concept that Django used. He was not the only one to do this, but it's the idea of playing blues over a chord progression. And when you do that, you're kind of quote unquote ignoring the changes, but in the back of your head, you are aware of what the changes are and where the chord progression is going, and you resolve accordingly. So that's what we're going to talk about. But first, please like, please subscribe, please hype. I've gotta tell you something, man. I'm going through some really, really, really tough times in my life that are beyond my control. If I were only responsible for myself, I'd be doing well. But there's some things in my personal life that beyond my control that are causing me extreme financial distress, and it's gonna be that way for the next few years. Until the inevitable happens. Things that people go through when they have loved ones in their lives, but it's extremely tough for me. So any kind of support you can give, leaving a comment, liking, sharing, buying something off of DC Music School, Sound Slice, my books, etc., recommending it to friends and everything. I'll maybe even have some time to give some lessons, so just hit me up. Okay, let's get started. Sorry for the sob story, but it's incredibly hard. But despite this, I try to keep, a happy face, because people say you gotta smile. No, actually, I'm doing okay, but it's tough. Um, let's see. Yes, the idea of not playing the changes, but being aware of the changes. This is a bit of a hard thing to talk about, because when I say you play the blues over a chord progression, it doesn't necessarily mean just like going up and down pentatonic scale. Let me just show you what that sounds. It doesn't sound good if I just go up and down a pentatonic scale. It doesn't sound good just doing that. Blues is more than just pentatonics. It's about phrasing, choosing the notes at the appropriate moment, resolving them at the right moment. And this is something that's not, I don't recommend explaining this in a theoretical way. The best thing you can do is actually to listen to players that do use this kind of sound. And so you'll hear players from the 30s use this kind of stuff. What I was doing mainly in the intro video was Django from the mid 1940s. This is something that he did a lot when he was on tour with the Ellington Orchestra. There are some recordings where you can do this, where he's doing a lot of these things, and it goes beyond pentatonic scales. But the main gist of it is when you have a chord progression that's more or less in the same key. So what I did this over was a song called Coquette. So the A section is pretty much all diatonic to the key of D, and that's where I use it. Over the D chord, I started my solo with this kind of, just that. It creates this kind of bluesy sound. Let me just do it again. Right? And that's cool in itself. You can also do this over the A7 chord. Let me see. See if I can plug it in. So there we go. First time I did it was over the D chord, but then I did it over the A7. So as long as it's kind of in the same key, you can get away with doing that kind of stuff. Then which notes do you choose? That's very hard to say. The best thing I can do for you is just demonstrate for you certain things. Well, one thing was he was fond of going up with a D minor kind of arpeggio idea. And then when you go down with a scale, and theoretically it would be D Dorian. Like that. But in his mind, I don't think he's thinking Dorian. It's just a collection of notes that he heard. Let's see what happens. There, something like that. And let's say you're about to resolve to D major, and you do resolve to the third. Things like that. Let's give another try. I meant to do this, but I ended up doing. Kind of sounds cool too. But yeah, here, pretty much straight up pentatonic, but then resolving to the D. So that's the kind of stuff that Django did, among many other things. So it's a fun little idea that you can experiment with. It's a little bit hard to use because it requires a good sense of intuition. And the best thing you can maybe do is to start listening to recordings and detect when your favorite players are using this sound, and try to grab your guitar, figure out what they're doing, replicate it, replicate the feeling, so to speak. It's not licks, so to speak. It's a feeling of, it's a sense of intuition of knowing where to go, where to resolve, how to phrase certain things. So that's what makes it hard. Now, of course, that's the way Django approached the blues sound, but you can also, if we want to, you can do kind of the West Montgomery thing. Okay, that George Benson, Grant Green, Pat Martino. If you check out some of their playing, they use sounds like that as well. So it's a matter of intuition, and then also of understanding what kind of aesthetics you're going for. If you're going for the Django thing, it's less about sorry, and it's more about this minor sound over major. So I guess it's basically about learning to play minor over major. And there we go. That's what I want to share with you on this Django birthday, as far as useful material. But I want to talk to you about Django Reinhardt, man. Without him, I would have no career in music. It's unbelievable, and not just him, but the tribe that he comes from, the Cinti or Manouche, as some people say. I owe quite a great deal to them. They helped me so much in life as well. They shared a lot of interesting stories about World War II, what they went through, certain what their families went through, actually, and a lot of things were very inspiring about the hardships they face. And despite all the hardships they go through, a lot of them remain, how do you say, content. They take joy in the simple things in life. So even though I'm going through tremendous difficulty now for the next few years, I actually feel okay. It's stressful, but somehow I can stay positive, and it's really thanks to people like them. And one thing is, Django has descendants, and I'm friends with David Reinhardt, his grandson, the son of Babika Reinhardt. Oh, what a really really cool guy he is! A really wonderful person. He has a course on DC Music School. If you really want to support Django Reinhardt, if you want to show your thanks to him, please check out the courses on DC. It's not really gypsy jazz. It's David's own style, because him, like his father, at the beginning they wanted to avoid playing this thing that everyone expected them to play, this Django Reinhardt style, this hot club thing. So they went in their own direction, and more later in life, after David kind of gave up music to discuss to get more into the spiritual side of things, he's like aiming to be a pastor now, a Christian in his church community. He started getting back into his roots, the whole gypsy jazz thing. And I wanted to talk about him because he's such a humble person, really wonderful person, and I think his family and him, he deserves more success than he does. Well, he, like I said, he's a very happy person. He has his family and everything, but I think he deserves recognition. So just, just saying, if you want to support him, check out the courses on DC Music School. It would make him happy because he's a very humble person. He's not someone who's trying to be famous. He's just living his life. And when you want to pursue a career in music, one thing is you have to be cutthroat. And I'm not that kind of person either. Not I'm not saying all musicians are cutthroat like that. Some musicians are generally good people, but they know how to associate with them with people who are cutthroat, like managers and what that. And that's something like I never really liked. It never made me feel comfortable, which is why I like to do my own thing, kind of be like my own self-made person. And Dave, I recognize that in David as well. Just a simple dude, but he deserves a whole lot more. And a lot of the people who continue this music, the Cinti and everything, um, I learned so much from them, music and life as well. And I came to realize, that the kind of gypsy jazz that I play is highly influenced by the time that I spent with them, with the Cinti of Europe, of France, Germany, Belgium, some in Italy, not so many in northern Italy. What else did I say? Germany, yeah, Holland, all that stuff. Really, really good times. And then you realize with them, it's hard to explain, but when you spend, especially since I moved to Japan, I kind of realize how important the environment, the mindset is. Because in Japan there is a big gypsy jazz scene, but it's distinctly Japanese in nature, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is what it is, but it's not the gypsy jazz that I know. And again, that's fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Just like Chinese food, I love orange chicken, but that's not an actual Chinese food thing. It's kind of like Chinese food in North America, like for American tastes, or like American sushi, which I think is fine. Is it real traditional Japanese sushi? No, it's not. But that said, I come from this whole gypsy environment. The way they learn, the way they think about life, and how that affects the playing. Just to give you an example, with them, when I was often with them, and they were showing me things, they couldn't be telling me, play a D7 chord, then play this arpeggio over it. What all they could do was just play for me, and I had to be there and to absorb. And when we were learning songs, when rehearsing and whatever, it's the same thing. You had to be there in the moment to catch, and those who couldn't catch those things, they were kind of left behind, and then so they would have to practice real hard on their own to catch up, to gain this ability to be in the moment, to learn in the moment. That's a skill that proved very useful to me when I started to accompany all these players, especially with Biré Lagrin when we did that little tour with the Gypsy project, where there's no rehearsal, there's no real set list, so to speak. You go on stage and you start to play, and you better know the song. You just better know the song and the arrangement. Be ready for it. And he's so unpredictable. He might, in the middle of the song, change the tempo, go somewhere else, and you have to follow. And I remember talking to his bass player. He told me, Diego Ambert. Now he's playing with William Brenat, but in those days, Diego, he was saying like, I played with Birelli for I don't know however long, 20 years, but till this day, I'm always when I play with him, I'm always on my toes. I have to be just ready for any curveball. And this is kind of the education that I got playing with the Gypsies. It's not like a safe zone, so to speak, where you prepare everything and everything is as it is. I was as it was in the recording or in the rehearsal. I've had so many instances of this where maybe we rehearse one, then after the day of the gig, I was like, I'm gonna change. I'm gonna change it. I'm just figure, just like follow me, and you have to be there on the spot. And that's one of the things that I find very exciting about this style. The way if you approach to play this style that way, this spontaneity, this be ready kind of thing, and it's not always perfect, but It's very exciting, and even though it's not perfect, but when you catch the curveballs, it's just so very exciting. It's very exhilarating, so to speak. So all this to say, if you want to play gypsy jazz, there are many ways to play it. I'm not here to say like one way is better than the other, but I just want to give thanks to the gypsies that I spent a lot of time with, that I learned from, and that's kind of the way I tend to do things. And it's funny because in Japan, people will sometimes say, "Oh, Dennis, you're very gypsy in the way you do things," because sometimes they mean that as an insult to me, but that is the style. That is just like how it is. In French, my French gypsy friends, they say "je m'en foutisme." It's a play on the word Buddhism. Buddhism, foutisme. Foutisme, je m'en fous. Je m'en fous means I don't give a crap, whatever. It's just whatever. And that's something that I really noticed about. It's not that they're disorganized or anything like that, but they're just so good at improvising. I remember I was one time with Dorado's family where we were driving a car. We ended up having a flat tire. They like opened the trunk. They just know how to fix. They improvise, a solution. Or one time, again with Dorado's family, we're in the middle of nowhere, and Dorado's feeling hungry, but there's nothing open in France. And we go to wherever we were staying, and Samson Schmidt, the son, opens the cupboard. There's nothing. There's just like some condiments and everything. And with that, he improvised a soup. And he was telling us, like in the old days when we had no money and there's no food, we had to figure out anything we could do to survive. That meant also maybe eating hedgehogs, niglo, things like that. So just this idea of whatever happens, find a way to make it work. And I love that. And that's the way they approach music, and that's the way I approach music as well. So, food for thought. Just want to share some fun little stories. So happy birthday, Django. Please support me. Please support David Reinhardt. Oh, yeah.